only 14 kilometres. Approximately the same distance as from one edge of a large city to the other. That is exactly how much water separates Europe and Africa at the narrowest point of the Strait of Gibraltar. At first glance, it seems that it is enough to build a bridge, and the two continents will be connected forever. But the bridge does not exist. And today, we will figure out why this question, so simple on the map, turns out to be one of the most tangled on the entire planet. Subscribe, it will be interesting. The Strait of Gibraltar has been familiar to people since deep antiquity. For the Greeks and Romans, it was a place where the inhabited world broke off and the unknown began. Here, the legendary Pillars of Hercules towered, beyond which there was nothing familiar. Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Arabs, Spaniards, Portuguese, all of them passed through this strait, traded, fought, and set out to find new lands. The strait has never been just water. It always remained a real border between worlds. Even the name of this place stores history in itself. The word Gibraltar goes back to an Arabic expression that can be translated approximately as the Mountain of Tariq. Tariq ibn Ziyad was an Arabic general who in 711 forced the strait and laid the beginning of the conquest of Spain. Since then, this place has become a symbol of how entire nations and armies cross the borders between continents. Today, about 80,000 vessels pass through the Strait of Gibraltar annually. This is one of the most busy sea corridors on the entire planet. Oil tankers, container ships, passenger ferries, warships, all this moves in a continuous stream through the narrow passage between the two shores. The strait connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Mediterranean Sea, and thereby links the ports of Europe, Asia, Africa, and America into a single trade system. Looking at the map, the idea of a bridge looks almost like a matter of course. Here is Spain, here is Morocco. There is a very small distance between them. But the map hides the most important thing, namely what happens under the surface of the water. And there the conditions are such that the engineers who first studied the strait only threw up their hands. And now you will understand why. Let us start with the depth. In the narrowest point, the strait reaches a depth of about 300 metres. To feel this scale, imagine a 30-storey building. Now put 10 such buildings, one on top of the other. That is the column of water pressing on the bottom. Not a single bridge pillar can simply stand on such a bottom without colossal costs and huge engineering risk. But depth is only the beginning. The bottom of the strait is uneven and very complex in its composition. Hard rocky formations, loose soils, and underwater canyons that go even deeper alternate there. Finding reliable points for the installation of supports in such a relief is incredibly difficult. Engineers would have to study every section of the bottom in detail before making a decision on the placement of structures. Now let us add the currents to this. In the Strait of Gibraltar, the water moves in two directions at the same time. On the surface, Atlantic water rushes into the Mediterranean Sea, and in the depths, the heavier and saltier Mediterranean water slowly flows in the opposite direction into the Atlantic. This resembles a two-tiered river. And all this power would press on the pillars of any bridge every second without stopping, day after day and year after year. Add the wind to this. Famous local winds, the Levant and the Poniente, rule here. The Levant blows from the east in sharp squalls and is capable of raising waves of such strength that ferry service sometimes completely stops. A bridge in such a place would have to withstand constant lateral loads that are capable of gradually shaking any construction. And now the most serious thing: earthquakes. The strait is located in the collision zone of the African and Eurasian lithospheric plates. These plates slowly shift towards each other, and it is their movement that periodically causes tremors. In 1755, one of the most destructive earthquakes in European history happened in this region, which went down in history as the Lisbon earthquake. It wiped an entire city off the face of the earth and gave rise to giant waves that reached the shores of Brazil. Building in such a zone is just like erecting a house right over a crack in the floor. Seawater deserves a separate conversation. It destroys metal and concrete incomparably faster than fresh water. Salt literally eats away at structures from the inside. Exactly for this reason, sea bridges require constant care, expensive protective coatings, and regular replacement of individual elements. A bridge across Gibraltar would become not just the construction of the century, but a project of unending maintenance for long centuries ahead. When engineers put all the listed factors together, a staggering figure is obtained. According to various calculations, the construction of a bridge across the Strait of Gibraltar would require from 10 to 15 billion euros, and taking into account inevitable unforeseen complications, possibly significantly more. And this is only the construction itself, without taking into account the decades of subsequent maintenance. Exactly for this reason, engineers more often consider not a bridge, but a tunnel. The logic is simple. A tunnel goes under the bottom and does not create interference for vessels. 80,000 ships a year can neither go around the strait nor wait at the shore. Shipping here is not interrupted in a storm or on holidays. A tunnel would remove this problem completely. However, a tunnel under Gibraltar has its own serious peculiarity. To bypass the most deep sections of the sea floor and ensure a safe angle of descent and ascent for trains, the tunnel would have to be laid for a length of about 38 kilometres. This is more than the distance through the entire centre of such a metropolis as Paris or London. Imagine this path underwater, in the darkness, under huge pressure. For comparison, let us recall the famous Eurotunnel under the English Channel, connecting Great Britain and France. It was built for more than 6 years, it cost about $15 billion at the prices of that time, and was opened in 1994. But there, engineers were accompanied by luck. A layer of soft chalk lies under the bottom of the English Channel, which is easy to drill. There is nothing like that under Gibraltar. There is one more problem of the tunnel that is spoken of rarely. If you let cars through it, you will have to solve the task of ventilation for more than 30 kilometres. Exhaust gases in a closed space of such length is no longer a technical nuance, but a question of life and death. Exactly for this reason, in real projects, only a railway version is seriously considered, without letting personal transport through. So the technical obstacles are colossal. But let us say honestly, humanity knows how to work in the toughest conditions. It knows how to drill, deepen, strengthen, and protect from water and seismic loads. The real question is not whether this is physically achievable. The question is whether those who make decisions want it. And here, everything becomes truly interesting. Let us start with an unexpected fact. At the very south of Spain, right at the entrance to the strait, a rock rises. A small one, about 6.5 square kilometres. About 34,000 people live on it. And this rock is called Gibraltar. It would seem, what is special about it? But this tiny territory has remained British for more than 300 years. Not Spanish, but precisely British. And it is the one that turns out to be at the very centre of this entire story. Britain captured Gibraltar in 1704 during a major European war for the Spanish succession. Since then, Spain has repeatedly tried to return the rock, including by organising many year sieges. However, Gibraltar remained British. The residents expressed themselves twice in referendums, in 1967 and 2002, and both times they chose the British flag. Why does Britain hold on to this rock so much? Because the one who controls Gibraltar controls the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea. This is a point of strategic importance on a world scale. Trade routes, warships, and submarines pass through it. The naval base in Gibraltar allows tracking everything that moves between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. Britain perfectly understood the value of this trump card and is not going to give it up. Imagine such a situation. Spain and Morocco agreed to build a tunnel. The route is chosen, the financing is found, the engineers are ready to start. But the tunnel passes in immediate proximity to British territory. Whose consent must be obtained? Who will be responsible for safety at the entrances? How will this affect the British military base? Any large-scale project in this area automatically turns into a matter not of two, but of at least three parties, each of which has its own interests. And these are not all the unexpected details. Many do not know that Europe is already physically present in Africa. On the Moroccan coast stand two Spanish cities, Ceuta and Melilla. Real Spanish cities, with Spanish laws, Spanish passports, and Spanish shops, but located right on the African continent. For most people, this is a real discovery. Ceuta and Melilla are part of the European Union. This means that their borders with Morocco are the external borders of the entire European Union. Barriers have been erected here, border guards serve here, and passport and customs control are in effect. It is through these cities that thousands of people from Africa and other regions try to get into Europe. This is one of the most tense migration corridors in the world. At the same time, Morocco has never officially recognised Spanish sovereignty over Ceuta and Melilla. The Moroccan side periodically raises this question, giving to understand that it considers these cities historically its own. Therefore, the relationship between Spain and Morocco is not just neighbourhood. It is a complex story of mutual claims that combines poorly with the idea of a joint mega-project worth billions of euros. A separate big topic is migration. The Strait of Gibraltar remains one of the main routes by which people try to reach Europe from Africa in small boats. This is a dangerous, deadly dangerous path. Every year, hundreds of people die here. If a tunnel appeared, the character of this flow would change, but the flow itself would not disappear anywhere. The point of control would simply shift, and new disputes would arise about who, how, and whom to let through. Exactly here, one important political truth is hidden, which is not usually spoken of openly. For a number of states, the absence of a direct crossing between Europe and Africa is simply beneficial. Water serves as a natural barrier. Ferries can be inspected, routes can be adjusted, and trips can be cancelled. All this can be managed. A bridge or a tunnel would create a constant connection that is incomparably harder to regulate and practically impossible to shut down quickly. Today, regular ferry lines operate between Spain and Morocco. From the Spanish Algeciras to the Moroccan Tangier is about 1.5 hours at sea. Every year, millions of people use this route, especially in the summer, when Moroccans living in Europe return home to visit loved ones. For them, this is a familiar and understandable path that has existed for more than 1 decade. But what would change with the appearance of a tunnel? Imagine a train departing from Madrid and arriving in Casablanca in a few hours. Without transfers, without ferries, without wasting time at sea. It sounds like science fiction, however, technically, it is already almost achievable. Because Morocco has been actively developing modern railway infrastructure in recent years. In 2018, Morocco opened the first high-speed railway on the African continent, between Casablanca and Tangier. Tangier is located almost opposite Gibraltar. In other words, the Moroccan side has actually already reached out towards Europe through modern transport. Only one last step remained. That very crossing through the strait. Spain, in its turn, possesses one of the best networks of high-speed trains in Europe. If the Spanish and Moroccan railway systems were connected through a tunnel, theoretically it would be possible to create a route from London or Paris to Marrakesh without a single transfer to a ferry. Such a route would cardinally change the tourist and cargo market between the two continents. Supporters of the project point to economic advantages. Direct land connection would reduce the cost of delivery of goods between Africa and Europe. Morocco would turn into the main transit hub for cargo from all over the African continent. Investments would grow, jobs would appear, and tourism would liven up on both sides of the strait. But critics ask completely practical questions. Who will pay for the maintenance of the tunnel over the course of decades? How to distribute the income from the passage? What will happen if a political conflict breaks out between the countries and the tunnel is already built and functioning? All these questions require not engineering solutions, but political agreements that must remain strong over the course of many generations. Let us say directly, even finding the money for such a project is extremely difficult. The European Union could, in principle, participate in financing if the project received the status of strategically important. But the European Union has never before financed anything comparable outside its borders. For this, a political decision at the level of heads of state would be required, and not just an agreement between two neighbouring countries. Even if financing were found, the next task would arise: the creation of new border points. The tunnel would require from both sides full-fledged terminal complexes with customs, passport control, inspection zones, parking lots, and service rooms. These are separate construction objects, separate budgets, and separate years of work. And all this only so that the first passenger could enter the tunnel. The safety of the tunnel itself is also a separate, huge topic. A closed underground space with a length of almost 40 kilometres represents a very vulnerable object. Continuous surveillance systems, emergency exits at certain intervals, powerful fire extinguishing installations, and clear evacuation plans are necessary there. Providing all this in a tunnel under the sea floor, at the boundary of two continents, is incomparably more difficult than in an ordinary city tunnel. There is one more detail that is spoken of infrequently. The area of the Strait of Gibraltar is a zone of intensive naval activity. NATO ships are constantly on duty here. Submarines of different states enter here, and monitoring of ship movement is continuously conducted here. Any tunnel would immediately become a strategic object requiring protection at a military level. And this is a completely new and independent layer of complexity. And it is not only about regional players. Large world powers closely monitor everything that happens at Gibraltar. Control over the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea is a question of global military strategy. Any serious changes in this region automatically turn out to be in the field of view of world capitals. So even with the full agreement of Spain and Morocco, very interested observers would stand behind them. All this doesn't mean at all that humanity is not capable of grandiose projects. It is very capable. The Suez Canal cut through the mainland to connect two seas. The Panama Canal connected two oceans, having broken through jungles and mountains. The Eurotunnel went under the seafloor and connected the island with the continent. Bridges in China step over mountain gorges several kilometres long. Man has always known how to rewrite geography when he truly wanted it. The idea of the Eurotunnel between Great Britain and France was discussed for more than 150 years before it was embodied in life. The first serious project appeared as early as the 19th century. Either political distrust, or wars, or a lack of financing, or fear of the idea itself interfered. But in the final count, everything came together. Perhaps Gibraltar is simply waiting for its hour. Technologies do not stand still. Modern tunnel boring machines work several times more productively than 20 years ago. New grades of concrete much better resist the influence of seawater and high pressure. Computer modelling allows checking in advance the behaviour of the construction during an earthquake or a powerful storm. With every year, technical obstacles become slightly less insurmountable. But the main obstacle, as it often happens, is not at all technical. Spain and Morocco periodically return to negotiations about a possible tunnel. Joint research groups have worked since the 80s of the last century. Geological surveys were conducted, technical reports were published, and conferences gathered. In 2016, both countries again confirmed interest in studying the project. But each time, political disagreements turned out to be stronger than engineering calculations. Behind these 14 kilometers stands everything. Hundreds of years of colonial history, unsettled territorial disputes, huge money, the most complex geology, military strategy of world powers, and questions of migration that have no simple answers. That is why the narrow strip of water on the map turns out to be much wider than it looks. If it was interesting, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. This is very important for promotion.